The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and then go on, and this last repetitions, that's what makes the muscle grow.
Hey guys, welcome back. Hassan Hammer here. 55th workout, excellent. Today we're gonna go blast legs. But before we start, there's a couple of agenda items. First, I will go over the usual. How to put on 50 pounds of muscle and what qualifies me to speak on that subject. Second, I added HIIT. I've added 5 minutes of max incline treadmill sprints. So that's 15% grade at speed 7, and I'll sprint for a minute, take a minute off, sprint for a minute and a half, take a minute and a half off. The aim being to get to 5 minutes in total. And because of that, I think my body fat percentage is lower than ever, which is pretty insane, just 5 minutes of sprinting. Third topic is biohacking, and I love biohacking. I use all these techniques to get in the zone, push myself, but the topic for that will be the caution signs, when to back off a little bit. And the fourth topic is I started a new series, which is dark to dark focus sessions here in Manila. So pretty much, if you followed my channel before, you would have noticed that I would do car rant, hypertrophy workout, pump check, and then end the session there. With a shout out to Sam Solik, I was motivated by his channel. And the reason for that is I like to set up games for myself to keep myself motivated. As Elon Musk would say, figure out how to gamify the process so it becomes more engaging. And I do this with quite a few things. If you've been following me, you would have noticed that I talk about my focus log, which is essentially a 7x54 matrix or table. It starts on Sunday and ends on Saturday. And I have 3 of these, and I fill them out daily. The first one is number of sets. The second table is number of focus hours per day. The third table is the number of minutes read per day. And the reason for this is, these are the 3 keystone habits. If you exercise, it lets you focus. When you focus, you can get your work done and work on whatever goal is personally motivating to you. So I believe in hard work if it's aligned with your personal motivations, okay? If you truly get that right, figure out what you really want, then it's actually not hard work. It's just doing what you want. And the third matrix is reading. You got to feed the brain. So whatever you track, you're motivated to do. I just track reading just so it forces me to feel guilty if I put in 0 minutes read per day for too long in a row. So I gamified the 3 key habit system that way, and I got that from Michael Phelps. I watched an interview of his with his interviewer who talked about an Excel sheet for 6 years where he never missed a day. That really motivated me. I started in 2022 on this Excel sheet, and the first year of exercise, because of that one interview, I worked out 7 days a week. I never missed a day, and my Excel sheet looks beautiful. Truth be told, at the end of the year, I started getting overuse injury on my right forearm, and I switched to 6 days a week, then every other day, and currently every third day, which does sound like I'm degrading my habits. However, the results are there. So if you can do it more efficiently, I think you should. Just don't do it for the sake of a vanity metric, let's put it that way. I found that following Mike Mentzer's heavy duty principles, Tom Platt's training techniques, Dorian Yates' training techniques, they all come together. Push really hard, push to failure, and then take time off to recover. Using those techniques, I've been able to make better gains than, let's say, 7 days a week. Okay, so I'll touch on that. Now, so the Excel sheet is the first way to gamify the process. The second way I gamify the process of exercising, for me, is to make these videos. It gives me a process to follow, upload, edit, and all of that, and it keeps me accountable. So that's my second game I play. And it keeps me on track. That's the second gamification. The third gamification is making time-lapse videos from sunrise to sunset. And I have to say, it works really well because just before the time-lapse videos, I was averaging about 6 to 7 hours a day. Was really not happy with that because back in Toronto, I was averaging much more than that. At least 70 to 80 hours I was doing. Over here, I was back to 40 to 50 hours. And after almost a week of not the greatest performance, I had to snap out of it. So that's the game I came up with, and I'm back to 14 hours a day, which is excellent. So that is why I started that series, because it's a game. I can keep myself accountable. I don't have my phone next to me to distract myself because it is literally on the tripod with 120x fast forward, and it is recording the whole time. The video turns out to be 90 seconds. So my 14 hours gets compressed into 90 seconds. But the nice thing is the game works. It really works. And it motivates me to get back to what I was doing quite quickly. Basically, I'm here in Manila on a digital nomad trip. A focus zone I've set up where I can get my key milestones done. Okay, so I was working in Toronto. It's quite cold there, lots of snow. But over here, it's 30 degrees, 35 degrees, and so on. So that's the background on the gamification. I'll touch on the biohacking in a moment. Now, let's actually start with HIIT. So this is the lowest body fat percentage I've been in, and the only thing I did was add 5 minutes of treadmill sprints on the days that I'm not working out. It has the benefit of getting me focused. Okay, so if I'm getting tired, I'll use high intensity interval training as a pseudo-stimulant. It raises your heart rate, it's healthy for you, and it gets you the steady release of dopamine back. So on the non-gym days, 15 minutes, I go down there, I get my heart rate to maximum, and then I come back. The side effect is lower body fat. So actually, it's the biohacking routines and the focus routines that should, in theory, keep you on track long term. Also, if you can gamify it for yourself, that really helps. But high intensity interval training, big thumbs up for me, keeping me on track for focus. And also, I believe, I'm going to take a guess here. Of course, I didn't measure it. I don't have the measuring equipment for that, but I think my body fat was hovering around 10% before, and currently it is probably a little bit lower than that. I want to say 9%, but until I measure, I can't be confident. But around 9 to 10%, which is pretty good. Okay, so how to put on 50 pounds of muscle naturally and what qualifies me to speak on the subject. First of all, I probably look pretty on the skinnier side right now. It probably doesn't look like I put on 50 pounds of muscle. And that's a fair criticism, but if you look at my introduction, you will literally see when I was at 130 pounds, and currently I'm at 170 pounds, and that's at the same body fat percentage. My 130 pound picture, I had veins on my arm, about 10% body fat. I was still doing cardio at the time for focus reasons, biohacking and all of that, but now I'm at 170 pounds. So I legitimately put on 20 pounds of muscle a year, pure muscle, not fat, for 2 years in a row. And that motivated me to start this channel. I believe people can make gains without TRT naturally and without going bananas in the gym. Let me correct that. You need to push to failure, but you don't need to go every day. So currently I'm going every third day, okay? And I'm still putting on muscle, although slowly, because now I'm approaching my 4th year mark of exercise. First year I only did cardio, so I'm not gonna count it as hypertrophy. But yeah, you can still put on very sizable gains with a reasonable schedule. Okay, so that is what I believe qualifies me, because I put on 40 pounds of muscle naturally. Now this is going to be a case of do as I say, not as I do. Okay, I know that's hypocrisy speaking. That's very hypocritical of me, but it's because I am recording 14-hour time-lapse videos of straight focus sessions from sunrise to sunset. That's why I'm working out every third day. I'm treating this as a low season for fitness while still making gains. And maybe it can illustrate how you can keep a maintenance schedule, even if you're busy working 80 hours a week, it's still possible. So maybe it can illustrate that purpose. But if you're actually trying to make gains and you're just starting, I would say it's a non-negotiable to go every second day. On, off, on, off. Pretty reasonable. And 45 minutes to an hour is all you need, as long as you push to failure using intensity techniques. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is intensity techniques, supersets, drop sets, lengthened partial reps, and rest pauses. You use them extensively, and you use them to make your workouts efficient. You want to go in there, you want to get the stimulus, and you want to get out. And yes, you do need a certain amount of time under tension, but around the hour mark is what I find enough. And that's how I put on all of that muscle. So I am approaching a genetic limit. You can only put on so much naturally, but 50 pounds of muscle naturally is amazing, because a lot of people, they go on TRT, they blast to supra-physiological levels, I believe is the terminology, where you're above 1,000, I don't know the units, but 1,000 nanograms per milliliter, let's say, of test. And then you start experiencing side effects like your hair's falling out, your skin's all red, you've got mood swings, your hormones are all messed up, and they just give up. After 6 months, they make some gains, they take some pictures, and 3 years later, they are not in the condition that they were. So I believe that if you do it naturally, it is more sustainable. You will look better and feel better and be more healthy long-term the natural way. So that is the way to do it. Of course, you use the intensity techniques, supersets, drop sets, lengthen partial reps, and rest pauses. And also, you drink 3 protein shakes per day, each with a scoop of creatine. That's how I did it. Over here in Manila, I am switching it up a little bit. Basically, 400 grams of protein here costs $40, which is insane. It's some sort of baker's protein. And it's a pretty nice grocery store too. So I don't know what the atmosphere here is with protein, but I don't think it's very popular. So I've switched to chicken breasts. Currently, I am eating 600 grams of chicken breasts per day, 30 days of the month. So that's how I'm getting my protein. If I was back in Toronto, I think I would definitely switch back to protein powder. That being said, I did substitute it. So I'm still having my protein shakes, but I'm just adding Greek yogurt, which is about 12 grams of protein per serving instead of 30. And it's a reasonable price. So you can definitely make do with that. Okay, so how do you put on 50 pounds of muscle naturally? Go to the gym every other day, use intensity techniques, push to failure. You have to push as hard as you can, and you have to find the pain zone, okay? So when you're doing the rep and it starts slowing down, like you're accelerating the weight as hard as you can, but it's slowing down, those are the reps that start to count. And then when you're approaching failure and you really push hard, those are the magical reps. And once you get there, you take a 5-second rest pause to let the lactic acid go away, and then you go grind those reps again, the painful reps. And what that does is instead of having to do 5 sets, you do 1 set with triple level rest pauses, and it's just as effective as doing 5 sets because you're just grinding those reps that really count. Okay, so that's what I mean by intensity techniques. Okay, let me take a rest pause there, but basically the pattern is this, except for legs. Legs is a different beast. The pattern is this: you go in there and you do your systemic stress routine. This might be a little advanced. You don't have to do this for the first 3 years maybe, but the larger the muscle, the greater the overall response from the body. So I always start with 1 set of 20 reps of legs. What that means is I'll go in there and I'll try to do 1 set where by the 20th rep I'm reaching failure, except on leg day because I'm about to work out legs anyways. And I think that will help me get past the plateau. Mike Mentzer calls this the systemic stress response, and he attributes this response to exercises that he calls the king, which I agree with, is deadlift and squats. Okay, so warm up, either do 5 minutes of treadmill or stair climber, or I would say do a systemic stress exercise to warm up, and that'll get you that. Now, the basic pattern is this, except for legs. You go in there and you do pre-exhaustion. So if I'm doing shoulders, I will do something like nice and controlled 20 reps of side laterals, pre-exhaustion set, also called ignition set. I got that from Athlean X. Works really well. So you pre-exhaust the muscle, then 1 or 2 sets, you blast it with a set full of intensity techniques. That's rest pauses, drop sets, and lengthen partial reps. If you do that, you only need 1 or 2 sets per exercise and you're done. So if you figure out the right way to work out, it's actually, you can do it extremely efficiently. Okay? Now, lengthen partial reps are very important. I think they work extremely well. For example, when I do pull-ups, when I fail, I'll do a dead hang, and then I'll just do the most stretched part. I'll go there, and then I'll just work those reps, because at the most stretched part of the muscle, it's under the greatest mechanical tension. And then when you apply a load, your muscles really feel it. And even at failure, you can go to the most stretched part and do 5% reps, and it takes you beyond failure. So if you master intensity techniques, you're good to go. Then the 3 protein shakes per day, each with a scoop of creatine, And lastly, you must do progressive overload. I'll insert my notes here, but basically you track your reps, you track your sets, you track your supersets, you track your partial reps. I'll show you how to do that. You just add your 6 reps plus your half reps. It might seem complicated, but you just do this once and then you just update the sheet. Once you've been working out for a while, it just becomes a reference sheet because sometimes it takes months to get an extra rep. Okay, so you combine all those 3 things together. It's a lot to say verbally, but once you're in routine, you go in there for 45 minutes, you know what you're doing and you're out. And after the 2nd year, you can go every 3rd day. And as long as you're increasing in reps, you will make gains. Because if your rest period is constant, 2 minutes of rest per exercise, I try to do 1 minute and 30 seconds, trying to be efficient. For legs, you need about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But if you keep every other variable constant, the amount of protein you're eating, the rest period, then if your reps go up, it's because you experience hypertrophy. So the counting of the increasing of reps is how you measure if you're experiencing hypertrophy or not. So you put all those 3 things together and you will be able to pack on muscle naturally at the maximum rate possible. Okay, so that's how you put on the 50 pounds of muscle. Next topic, biohacking routines. So caution and red flags. Okay, so let's see. I started doing HIIT every single day and gym on and strength training on non-HIIT days. So it's HIIT, gym, HIIT, gym. Okay, so I'm working out every 3rd day, but I'm doing high intensity interval training almost every day. Now, this I will call a pseudo-stimulant because you're artificially using it to stimulate the body, get your central nervous system jacked up, which allows you to focus. But the caution red flag is if you pull this lever too much, your body starts redlining, okay? And then you should back off. Now, I am a firm believer, push as hard as you can, but if you experience those things, just calm it down a little bit. So yesterday I didn't do HIIT, and now I'm feeling better. So how do you know you are approaching caution signs? Labored breathing, okay? So this is the big one for me. So if I'm pushing 14 hours a day and then I'm doing HIIT and I'm doing my exercise, and if I do that for like maybe 8 to 10 days, and then I wake up with labored breathing and my heart rate is at 100, I need to back off. So I back off for a day, I have a little bit less coffee, I don't do my HIIT, I make sure I get at least 6 hours of sleep that night. For me, that seems to be enough. I know everyone says get more. Listen to your body, but if I do all those things and I'm getting a little bit less, like 5 hours of sleep sometimes, my body will redline in about 3 days. So I would say that's the caution sign. And you can biohack in all sorts of ways. So I put in the ice cold showers for focus, high intensity interval training, the strength training routine, coffee, and so on. But sometimes if you do experience the caution signs, back off a little bit and you'll be good to go. And I think that's just part of the territory when I'm doing the sunrise to sunset time lapses, and then the exercise, the coffee, and all of that. So that covers everything. Actually, there's one more. Okay, so last time I trained legs, I did squats, and I fatigued my lower back. So usually I do hack squats. Leg day for me is a very sacred day because I use it as a proxy for how strong I am mentally, how hard I can push. You'll often hear me rant about that if you watch my leg workouts. I call it the wired for war mentality. I got that from Elon Musk, who says you pick a topic and you just go all out. You give it every single thing you got. And basically, you commit to one action and you just do it until you get to the goal. And he calls it the wired for war mentality. And it's like another game. So what's it called? Back in Toronto, I was doing this, and basically I was working the full day and then sleeping under my desk and then waking up and working again. And works great. You got to take a break every now and then, of course. But the leg workout grooves that same grease. If you go in there and you push as hard as you can, it is so painful for leg workouts that I use it as a proxy to see how strong I am mentally. Can I really push myself to failure? Okay, so the challenge I'm having with that is usually I use hack squats, concentrate all of the force onto your quads. Normal squats, I'm finding fatigue my erectors spinae faster than my quads, which is presenting a challenge. Because if I use that same mentality of pushing really hard, the back gets injured. And I detected that on the last workout, so I backed off. but my back was still injured for 3 days. So I'm in a position where I'm facing a new gym. I have to figure out how to overload the legs. So long story short, what I shall do is I will lower the weight on the squats a little bit until I get my form right, and I will figure out another way to overload legs. Likely leg press. Now, there's a reputation for leg press as being an inferior exercise to squats and hack squats, which I do agree with. However, circumstantially, I think it makes sense to back off instead of experiencing an injury. The worst thing is when you're injured for a month and you lose 3 months of gains, not 3 months, but maybe 2 weeks of gains. You get what I mean. I don't want to get injured. So we're going to work out legs today. I'm going to lower the squat weight from 185 pounds, going for 15 to 20 reps, to 135 pounds, and then go ham on the leg press instead. So that is the plan, and I will see you guys inside the gym, and we shall smash this leg workout. All right, made it into the gym. Now, I am using the building gym, which is essentially a hotel gym. It's pretty good, but it's of course not a fully decked out public gym. And there is a public gym I could go to, but for the interest of efficiency, I shall use the gym available closest to me and improvise if I can. So one of the things that's challenging is calves. That's why, actually I skipped the last workout. So I'm gonna start with calves today. And the idea is to use this block with this 25 kg kettlebell. I think it's 25 kg, 24 kg. And see if I can get a decent calf workout. Now I want to make sure I go to full stretch without falling. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's a full stretch. I know it's at the full stretch because it just starts to burn, even without the rep. It's going to be tricky. Balancing myself is harder than expected. Okay, by the second rep it does burn, but balancing is a challenge. Okay, full stretch. Squeeze, squeeze, down. Oh, okay, that was a good rep. Okay, so I'll have to use this as my balance position and then up, squeeze. Oh. All right, that's 2. Okay, I'm going to call that set 1, just to get some practice. I'm going to use this thing for balance. I can hold on to it. That way I am not struggling for balance while I hold this kettlebell. Okay, if I do it one leg at a time, I can definitely overload it, so that's good, but first I'll practice with 2 legs. That feels pretty good. This balancing idea was good. Good partials, they're burning. All right, I'm happy with that. That was a good set. That was a really good set, actually. Calves are burning. Okay, so I'm gonna count the last set as ignition set, and with this set I need to just go ham and get them fully fried because I want to keep it efficient. So I'm gonna go full stretch. It burns right there. Hold it. Partial well, not partial static rep yet, but in that static position, finding the burn before I go up. Pretty much I have to find ways to make it hurt. Okay, so when I get to the maximum stretch position with my knees fully locked out, without even doing a rep, the burning just slowly grows. So I let it grow, and then I do the rep. And that's how I'm failing in just less than 12 reps. Otherwise, if I did little bouncy reps, I could probably do it like lots of them, but start this way. Yeah, that burns quite a lot. There, failure. Okay, partials. Lots of partials now. Well, at the stretch position. Probably can't see the motion, but it really burns. I'm at 20. All right. I'll call it good there. Definitely went to failure. One more set would be better, but I want to get into my leg workout. Usually what I do is I work out calves on non-leg days. So I'll get back into a routine of that. But pretty good. I think I can grow them with this setup. All right, into leg work. Now, I would usually start with calf leg extensions actually, but I'm going to improvise since the machine's in use. I will start with this. So I'm going to jump into it at about 265 pounds. I do want to keep my legs fairly fresh for squat, but I'm still looking to go to failure here. So this is about 60-70% of the stock. Of course, I'd like a lot better range of motion, but that's all this machine gives. If I could have it my way, the knee should be beyond the chest. If you do enough reps, it still works though. I think that's 17. That hurt. The 20th rep hurt. Alright, that's set number 1. I'll do one more. Set number 2, leg press. Now, basically what I'm trying to do is I am trying to go to failure because I know when I do squats, my erectors are gonna give out before my quads do. So this is the opportunity to really hammer the quads. If they're pre-exhausted, then the squats will have a greater effect on them. Okay, so this is the whole stack, 415 pounds. I don't know if I'll be able to push this, but I will try it, hopefully without injury. Definitely saw stars with that. Alright. We'll do drop sets, 365. So I think that was 3 reps. Alright, that's 365 for 2 reps. Yeah, I'm gonna go to 290. That feels pretty good. I think I'm gonna put the leg extension at the end of the workout from here on. Significantly easier 290 than 415. I think I'm gonna call it the 290 times 5. Time for squats. Squats, finally. I'm here. Truth be told, I don't really trust this stand. Definitely wobbly. But let's see how it goes. Making sure I keep my chin up to align my back, and I take a breath and hold it in my stomach for intra-abdominal pressure, which stabilizes the spine. Alright, that's 11. $12. 13. 14. Okay, let's stop at 14. I'm gonna roll out the process failure, but I definitely feel it in my quads.
So number 2, not bad, but running into the same problem. Lower back fatigue before my quads. So I don't know how well I'll be able to progressively overload this. Of course, I can always switch to Smith machine squats. That's an option, but I think I will try to improve these first. That's 7. Take a rest, pause. Pause at 14. Not bad. Alright, set number 3. Set number 2 felt good. I did not feel it in my back. In fact, there's a motion that happens right at the end if you do full repetition ATG squats called the butt wink. And I think that's what's responsible, not I think, at least that's what's responsible for fatiguing the lower back. Because when the butt rounds, the spine is no longer in compression, which keeps it solid on the same axis. At the bottom when it rounds, it stresses out the whole spine and your, what's it called, your mid-back muscles, your erector muscles take over. So that's what I'm trying to correct in my form, and hopefully if I do correct it, maybe I can progressively overload these. The other thing is these spindly stick-like supports don't give me too much confidence either. But we'll see about that. Set number 3. That's 5, take a rest pause. That's 8. Lower back starting to cramp a little. Do look for a couple more. So I'm going to pause there. Not to failure, but I'll go to failure on the next exercise.
Set number 4, last set for squats. And then I will do some more leg press. That's 10. Take a rest pause. This stance is good, the narrow stance. Alright, that's 14. I was taking 2-minute rest between these, by the way, since I'm not going to true failure. Last exercise. Maybe I'll do leg extension. But I'm going with the flow. This is the different style leg press. So I'm not sure how this one's going to feel, because I just did the other one before this. Of course, adjust the machine for max range of motion as always. Okay, so this is on 125 pounds. I'm going to say this one is more of a glute style leg press because that's what it seems to hit. You know what I'm realizing? I think I can do calves on this machine instead of that apparatus I was using. Quite hot in here too. Alright, that's 9. I'm going to switch to the other leg press since it's empty now. I definitely like this leg press more. The range of motion on the other one's a lot better, but it goes all towards the glutes, which I'm trying to target the quads. Okay, so last time I started with a full stack, 415 at the start of the workout. But at the end of the workout, it's going to be more volume based. So I'm going to start with half the stack. So about 215. Not about, exactly 215. Then I'm going to work my way down the stack. Toys pointed out duck stance for the outer quad hit. Oh my god, the range of motion is very bad. I guess that's all there is. There you go, pause. Rest pause, that's 15. The burning is intense. And gather myself, let the lactic acid dissipate. Basically just stop tripping out. Get comfortable with what I'm holding, and then go again. Alright, that's 20. I'm going to pause there. I'll keep iterating this leg workout, although it's currently at an hour and 10 minutes. But I need to figure out how to raise the intensity a little more. Alright, let's do a quick pump check. Actually, I forgot about the pump check, so it's a little bit gone. I took a shower, but it should still be there. It's been only about 20 minutes. That's what it's looking like. They are improving, but I feel like the hack squats were better. But that was a pretty good workout. I'll give them that. All right, thanks for joining me. Next time we shall do just that. Do you want cool remote jobs like these? These contracts let me work from an oceanside penthouse. I created a focus zone for myself and buy my dream car, a manual Porsche 718 GTS, which was quite the upgrade from my earlier dream car, which was to have any car, which was a 1999 Toyota Tercel. You can find exactly these roles on this PM contract job board I just built. It features curated, high-paying project management consulting roles. Think data projects, BI projects, reporting projects, fintech projects, and AI deployment orchestration projects, which are really ramping up fast. And each pays at least $10,000 a month or more and is hybrid or remote friendly, and these are hidden from public boards. I took my decade of recruiter contracts, that's thousands of emails, and I parsed it for the recruiter list and I hooked that channel up with agentic AI automation. And these are fresh. As soon as a new contract hits my network, the board is updated in under 30 seconds, containing everything you might need. Contract salary figures, freshness scale, background information, so you're not like wasting your time applying to stale jobs. And phone numbers and emails are right there at the bottom. So there is no headaches like, please rebuild your resume online here. You can just reach out to the headhunter directly. Now, I do recommend signing up for the instant alerts because if a job is more than 48 hours old, it is stale. So these alerts are strategic and they're totally for free. Now, what if you're not qualified for the role? Well, check out the AI agent assisted Tips by Hassan section, where there's an AI version of me that will break down exactly what's needed to get these roles. Now, a truth bomb, if you're a coder, a tactical project manager, a business analyst, or an engineer, and you're grinding through tasks like coding, spreadsheets, scheduling, status updates, AI is quietly eating these roles. And people are just waking up one day with their login gone. I built this entire job board with AI tools that gives me power of 10 developers. And for this reason, there's McKinsey's stat that predicts 50% headcount cuts by 2028. There is good news. There's 175 million new AI orchestration roles coming out. My accelerator pivots you fast and efficiently into this new area of PM consulting, future-proofing you so you can ride the trend. You can also book a free strategy session with me where I'll vet your credentials to see if you will qualify for the pivot.
The key to stimulating muscle growth is the intensity of the exercise.
Experiencing pain in your muscles and then go on, and this last repetitions, that's what makes the muscle grow.